Hello, Teresa here from South East London. I hope you're all well. This is going to be a very short project for the new year. It's based on William de Morgan, the ceramic craftsman, one of the best of the 19th century. It's based on some of his blue and green ceramics of the 19th century, which I found in Watts Gallery, Compton in Surrey in the UK, and it's really worth a visit. Now we'll be using stitches from our stitch book, and I think at the moment I'm going to be using these stitches here. Now I've highlighted the ceramic tiles here. This is the part that I'm going to use, and it just seems to be crying out for pinwheels. So at the moment, this is what I'm going to be doing. Now I'm just going to recap, and some of you who have the stitch books will know how to do this anyway. So first thing is to mark around your fabric with a pen, not a pen, sorry, a fine pencil. Now you're going to bring the thread and the needle from the back to the front. Hold the thread down and bring the needle through. You loop the needle through like that. Now that is all you're going to do all the way around, and it's a really nice easy stitch to do. Do you recognize the frame as well? That's the demonstration frame, but that fabric really has had its day now, so I'm using it for this project. But you can make your spokes as short or as wide as you want. And look how easy it is. It's just so easy, and it's such a lovely fun thing to do. Right, so that only took a couple of minutes to do, if that. Now to finish off, just take that through to the back and secure it. So it's quite easy. Because it's wool, it's a thick silk there. It's not holding its shape too well, but it will do when you do it with a finer thread. Now this is the size of the tile that I'm going to use, and it's about 5.5 inches square, just under 6. So I'm now pinning that onto the background fabric, and I'm going to draw around that very lightly, and then tack around it. So you'll know what tacking is, so I'm not going to do a demonstration of the tacking stitch. It's just like a very long slow stitch. They're all the same really, they're all from the same family. So once that is done, I'm now going to move the paper. I'm going to remove the pins and the paper, and you'll see the outline on the fabric. Try not to forget your pins. I've done that, and it can be quite painful. So there we are, and that is the amount of space that I'm going to use to put the design in. So that will be the workable area for our design. And I'm just going to take it off the big frame, because the big frame is too big to actually sit and work with. Now I'm cutting the surplus off, and that was a cushion cover, so I'm making it more manageable now. And you can see the demonstration marks there, the square and the round. So that is right. I messed that up a bit, haven't I, using that tape measure that way. So it should be 5.5 inches anyway. So what I've done now, I've actually oversewn the edge here to stop it fraying. This fabric, which we've used for a long time for the demonstrations, has got a little bit worn, and it's just ripe for fraying. So that should stop it. As you can see, I didn't use the sewing machine. I have done that by hand, and I think you can tell that by the scruffy stitches. So the front is now ready for working on. I also have interfaced the back to give it a little bit of strength, because without that it was far too weak and floppy. So that is all ready. It now measures, I think it's gone from just under 6 inches to 9 inches square. So if I move that down, you can see that's about 9 inches square, actually 8.5 that way. What is it that way? yeah, 8.5 inches square. So that's okay. I'm only going to work on this piece here. The rest will give me room for edges or borders, for finishing off, or for even attaching to something else. So at the moment, that will be the finished size. Now, I've also sorted out some fabric. Now, the fabric, luckily, I've gone to the pot of bits and pieces, and some of it was already interfaced, off-cuts, which I've ironed. They were already interfaced from previous projects that we've done, and I expect you might recognise some of them, because some of them were used in quite recent projects. Nicely interfaced. I mean, this one or two like this I have interfaced, but the majority were just begging to be used as they are. So if you can see, there's quite a collection there. I've gone for mainly blues with just touches of another colour. That one is really nice as well. That's blue with a touch of colour. So these are what I'm looking at the moment for leaves and flower heads. They will be appliqued, and then the pinwheels and the surface stitchery will be added on top. Now I have a couple of larger squares here. These are for the little pieces of flowers, the little applique flowers. So just going to pop these, but these are for the background here, the square within the square. So now I'm not sure how I'm going to use these. I want to break the background up into 2 colours and then apply fabric on top of that. Now I'm not sure how to pair these at the moment. That way, that is the back. These are the backs of some rather grand fabric. But as you know, sometimes the backs are just far nicer than the front. So I'm not, as I said, I'm not sure what the pairing will be. I've got 4, so I can play around. Do I want a blue background? And you see the contrast we have here, contrast in plain against the patterned, sparkly against the matte. So I might do that. Then again, I could do it that way. No, it's too bland. Too bland. So I could move that and do that. Nope. Nope. What about 2 patterns which break out design elements? Nope, don't like that. So I need to... No, to be honest, I think that's not bad. That's not bad. But I don't think it's as nice as this. Yes, I think I'm going to opt for that. Now the next question is, do I want 50-50? Do I want half and then half of this? So the proportions are exact. Or do I want to play around and have maybe more of one than the other? So that is the next thing that I will do. Now I'm going to put that to one side for a minute. I've made just a tiny sketch of, I'm not sure which way it goes, I think it's that way. I've made just a tiny sketch of the tile. Now obviously the tile isn't as big as this, but I don't really work small. So this I might use as some sort of template. Yeah, I could get away with using that as a template, I think. Although parts of it obviously are too big. Didn't think about that, did I? So anyway, this is here in case I do need it, and I could cut these out and I could make them smaller as I cut them out. It's just to show me placement really. And if you look at the design here, now I really don't want to replicate that design because that is somebody else's design. It's not mine. So I'm going to use that as inspiration. And and just be inspired and influenced by it, but I'm not going to copy it. This has given me a feel for the design, for what's going on in the tile or on the tile. So I will probably refer to it. But if you can see here, look, these are just right for pinwheels, aren't they? These are just crying out to be made into pinwheels. Applied fabric and then pinwheels. Now this is just thinking aloud. Pinwheels again here. So the stitch of the moment is pinwheel. So a larger pinwheel. This probably applied with surface stitchery. Might go back to our raised chain band at some point during this, because that is perfect for these pieces here. But there's a little bit of thinking to go on. But as you know, as soon as the piece is cut, as soon as this is down, then it takes on a life of its own, and whatever I'm saying now is likely to change, which makes it really exciting. So I've got the background to go down. Now after I've put the background down, I might cut these out, I might not, might do it all freehand as and when I need them. And then I will think about, but not overthink, about what pieces of applique I need, what to do these in. I've got enough things here. I like that. I do like that. I've also got, I found these as well, forever finding bits of lace. I've also got this. Now you've seen this before, but if you remember the tile, it has a flower that extends up here, and there's a stem or a stalk with the leaves. Well, look at this. It's a flower. I won't use the flower, but there's a stalk and some leaves. So I might play about with that. Might not stick to green. There are more colours here, like the brown. Might do. See, at this stage, it's all very might. Might do this and might do that. And as you know, sometimes I end up not doing either. Something just happens while I'm working. Get absorbed. This is another lovely piece. Those of you who know Tess, I took this out of her box on one of our workshops. I'm not sure if she knows it's missing. She will do now if she sees this. Thanks, Tess. So that's another. That's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, that is really lovely. These are applied flowers to net. But anyway, I have quite a lot to think of, and as soon as I've made a headway with this, I'll get back and we can all have a look and see where I've gone wrong. Okay, that's lovely as well. See, all these were already interfaced, but I've mentioned that. So I'm going to carry on now and have a nice afternoon to myself, just playing. Okay, so I'll be back shortly. So I've placed the two pieces of background fabric down, and I did cut out the leaf shape to use as a template, and I will make that smaller as I go along. Now I've cut some shapes out as well from here, and you can see that they're varying fabrics, varying colours, and as well different sizes. Want to stick to the contrast, the large size leaf against the smaller leaf. So I've also done that with these circles, which will actually be flower heads. So they're different sizes. You can see the big one against the small one. Now this is really lovely. This is on another piece of net that I think you've seen before, and I've just taken out that particular piece there, that stem. Now those will go there. I didn't know what proportions to put those down in, 50-50 or 75-25, but decided on the 50-50 exact halves. Now I'd like the join covered up, hidden with that lace stem, and maybe some leaves as well. Now I've no idea at this stage where to put these leaves. All I know is that I love the shape. and the colour as well. I've tried to stick to the same colour scheme. Particularly love this from one of my son's shirts. And don't forget they've all been interfaced, so that is why they're nice and stiff and not floppy. So this is how far I've got at the moment, and it's quite a slow procedure. Sometimes I think if you overthink something, you lose something, and that's how I'm feeling at the moment. I'm not too sure where to put this one. Not there because it's too close to that pattern fabric, although does that matter? By putting the plain circle on top, it lessens the patterns. It does need these plain grey. That is satin. It's a nice satin. Was my daughter-in-law's 18th birthday dress, and it is really beautiful. But anyway, I've topped that up for my circles there. Oh no, I don't want grey on grey. That's silly. No, take that off. But it would be very busy if there weren't any plain flowers there, or plain leaves. Yeah, see that's taking shape. I quite like that. It is very, very busy, isn't it? If I just move that round slightly, then that will look a bit better. See, this is the scruffy stage. When you think, oh goodness, have I made the wrong decision with this? Oh, these pins as well, they drive me up the wall. I must get rid of them at some point. So I've decided now on this, and it's basically as I left it a little while ago. I have put a patterned one in the big white lacy flower there, and I do like that look. Now I'm going to use just 2 strands or even 1 strand of tacking thread. Now that is actually sewing cotton that I'm using, and I'm going to do what I normally do, just go work in rows and clip each piece. You don't need to go around each one, that would take too long. So just clip your pieces in place. So that's done, and it didn't take too long to do, but as you can see, if you look closely, you can see there are rows there. I think I did about 6 rows, and this last one, and it secures it nicely. You don't even have to go across. If you've clipped each piece of applique there, then, and it's quite secure, makes it so much easier to work with. Just secure it at the back, and that's fine. Now just that is really good. I like to iron it as well at this stage. Just press the back. If I make this bigger, you can possibly see the rows that I've used here. And once again, don't forget to take the pins out. No, don't do that. I have done that and scratched myself to bits. So that is now ready for our pinwheels. Now I've returned back to our book, our Stitches Refresher book, and these are what I'm going to do for the flowers. I love those. So in the center of the flowers here, I'm going to do the pinwheels. Oops, sorry, that's out of screen. Bring it back. I'm going to do the pinwheels in each of the circles that you see. I would love to do the bright yellows and reds circles, but I don't think it's in keeping with the colour scheme of the tile, so I will stick to blue, a mixture of blues, just to see how it looks. Might introduce another colour, but once again I'm not sure. So that's the pinwheels. Now they're not finished. You can see here I've done 2 pinwheels, or a pinwheel in the small circle surrounded by a blanket stitch. So, and I love doing that, and you can space the spokes as you want to, lengthen them, it's entirely up to you. I've also started the slow stitch on the background. It didn't take long. You can't see the slow stitch there, but I've introduced a green there, and that is quite a bright green which isn't showing. What else have I done? I think that's, oh, I'm going to do some slow stitch around the white flower there. There's quite a lot to be done yet. I need to do maybe feather stitch along these leaves, so there's quite a bit of thinking still left to do. I put the design from the tile, the pattern from the tile, next to the piece that I'm working on at the moment. There's a little resemblance there, but not too much. You can see there's maybe an influence, but it hasn't been copied. So this is how far I have got. The pinwheels still aren't finished yet. Slow stitching, I think I'm going to call all that finished now. I've added some feather stitch here, just a little bit there and here on the leaves, a little bit here as well on those leaves. Now if you look at this one, each one has been outlined in black. Now I think it's a very brave thing to do on this, but I think as a little bit of a nudge towards this, I'm going to try outlining some of these in black, if not all of them. You can see the contrasting thickness, the dark thick black around these big shapes around the flowers and the leaves, and just a paler, almost grey in fact, around some of these, dark here as well. So I think I'm going to start with some of these and do a black just to see how it looks. If it looks very ugly, I won't keep it, I'll take it off, but it looks okay here. So as I said, there's a little bit of a wink or a nudge to this. I'm going to bring the black over from the flowers and the leaves and do the same around my flowers and my leaves. Okay, so that's the next thing I'm going to do. Got my needle threaded here. I'm actually going to use 6 strands of thread. Most of this has been used in 3, some in 6, but very little, mostly 3 threads. Nice long sharp needle, and I'm going to start possibly here and do a buttonhole stitch, no, sorry, not a buttonhole stitch, and do the pinwheel stitch all the way round. So that is where I'm going to go now, and I'm going to get back as soon as I've done some of these in black. So I've done the black, and I quite like it actually. I've outlined the pinwheels here, as you can see. They've all been done, and they've been done in 6 strands. Now in the centre, the red bits here, I've woven. There's weaving, and I put the feather stitch along here as well. And I believe I've done, whatever, did I do any herringbone? Yes, there's some herringbone there as well around the edges. But I really like that, and I like the red as well. I think the red needed something, and for that reason I'm going to put some some beads in the center, just to give it a little bit more of a focal point and to add some texture to it as well. Here it is finished, all done and dusted. Now obviously I'm not making it up into something, because I'm going to use it later in the year for another project, but I will add a border to it in a minute, just for display purposes really. But at the moment I'm calling that finished, and I'm just going to show you what I did. I've added some French knots around here and here, the herringbone stitch as well, here and here. I put some beads on, you can hear those, hear the texture, and I've woven between the spikes around here. Now I'm not sure if I've done anything else. No, I don't think I have. And yeah, I feel that I did do something else, but I can't see it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to recap on how to do the feather stitch here. Oh, it was a feather stitch, wasn't it? I did herringbone, feather stitch and French knots. I'm just going to recap on how to do these stitches here, and then that will be ready to have a border put round for display purposes. So the feather stitch, you notice that I've changed the frame to one more manageable, and I had a little bit of square left from the edge here, hence the same fabric. So let's have a look. What did I say I'd start with? Right, I'm going to start with feather stitch. I'm not sure if I've done this earlier on. If I have, you won't see this because I should cut it out. Right, so knot in the back of your thread, hold it down with your thumb, go across, okay, as wide or as narrow as you want it, and then try to bring your needle out in the middle here, between those two, down here, as long as you want it, so you get a very nice stitch. That's the first one, and then you repeat that whole sequence over this side, like so. And there's your next one. Make sure you hold this down so it doesn't spring up a knot. Now you could keep going for as long as you want, but at this stage we're now going to turn it over, turn that way, thumb down again, but the thread is now facing that way, and repeat that sequence, only in the opposite direction. And there you have your feather stitch, a herringbone stitch. So knot in the back of your thread. Now you're going to bring it across its leg here, just pinch a little bit of the fabric, keep your needle going that way. Whoa, okay, so you're like this, you're going to pull that through, try to keep that down with your thumb so it doesn't knot, and that is your first leg. Now you're going to bring that over. Now it isn't a cross, it looks like a cross, but it isn't. The little bit where it does cross is at the top and not in the center, and you're going to now pick up a little piece here, like so, keep the needle pointing that way, bring that through, and there you have the complete stitch. And all you're going to do is keep repeating that, needle facing that way, as long or as wide as you want, and that is your herringbone stitch. So for any new people, this is a French knot, and when you group them together you get a lovely raised texture. You hear that? And the inspiration for this was actually that flower there. So that's a tree trunk with French knots. Isn't that lovely? So a lot of people worry about the French knots, but there's nothing to worry about, and it is quite easy to do. You're going to let the needle do all the hard work. So you're going to bring your needle through like this, a nice knot in the back. Then you're going to hold that, and you're going to twist the needle round. Oops, twist the needle round and back in at the side. Not in the same hole because you could pull it through. And there is your French knot. So needle through from the back, hold the thread, twist the needle round, back in at the side and down. And look how easy that is. French knot. Now I've trimmed off the surplus all the way round, it's time to put the border on, and I'm going to do it as I normally do with the pseudo or the mock log cabin. So the first thing to do is cut out 4 pieces of strips the width that you want them. Now I've got this, not sure which side to use. I think that might be too much if I use the shiny side, so I'm going to use this side, which is actually the front. Now the first and the second strip, so that's the top and the bottom, are the short sides. So I have 2 short strips here which go across here from there to there. I'm going to put them right sides of the fabric to right sides of the work, edge to edge. Now I don't want to put them on that edge there, otherwise if I sew them I'm going to expose this, so I need to place that edge to edge on there. So we have edge to edge there, and I'm going to pin it. I do advise you pin it. It just makes life a bit easier. It holds the fabric still. These pins are really dreadful. I say that every time I use them, but they really are. So right sides to right sides there, and I'm going to do the same at the bottom as well. So that one will go there the same way as this, right sides to right side. It's going to be pinned just like this one. It's going to pin there and machine sewn. Now after they've been machine sewn, these two are going to be opened up like that and pressed. That one will be opened up as well, and then a longer strip, I have two longer strips, will go right side to right side here, and it will go right the way across the two narrow ones, and it will be pinned and sewn. So I'm going to do that now, and it will be done both sides. So that's going to be done now, and then as soon as I've done that I'll get back. This is the completely finished tile now, if you like. I put the border on. The border doesn't really come into it that much because I'm not sure whether this will be taken up into the eventual design and execution of a plan that I have for this. But the idea of this was to be inspired and make a tile, a fabric tile, like this. Well, not like this at all, this is ceramic, but to be inspired by this in fabric and thread. So there we go, that is my version of this. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. You might see this again later in the year, made up as something else, and you might not, but I do hope you liked it, and I do hope you go into the kitchen now or your bathroom and have a look at your tiles, your ceramic tiles or your floor tiles, or go back onto Facebook and have a look at some of the tiles that I posted over last year, and do the same. It's very, very simple, it's very quick to do, and let's just see how much it measures. It now measures 5 inches. 5 inches, oh, it should be 5 inches that way. Ooh, 5 inches by 5.5 inches that way. Oh well, never mind. So anyway, hope you like that, and I'll speak to you on Facebook. So take care everyone. Very, very short project. I try to keep it as short as possible, and I will see you soon.